All right, Will, thanks for taking some time to share what it's been like working together for the past, I guess, almost a year now. Before we start working together, can you kind of explain to us about what the challenges were, kind of where you were, what your goals were? So before we were working together, what was going on?
Yeah, so I think that before we started working together as an organization, we were making, what we'd call a step change in the size of the organization, the complexity of the projects, and then how internally we were staffed and organized. And we recognized that if we were going to continue to grow and continue to take on the quantity of work that we'd taken on, that we were going to need to develop and implement some new positions within the organization, particularly with a project executive role. And, that role didn't exist within Thompson Turner at the time. And so there were a couple of things, but one was the development and implementation of that role, and then also trying to not bring in resources from the outside to put in front of employees that were already within the organization that were doing a good job, but to take those employees and turn them into project executives. And so I think we'd identified the individuals and worked to create the role, but those individuals didn't really understand what a project executive was. And so when we engaged you, a lot of what I think we tasked you with was to help us coach and mentor and guide those two individuals into what that project executive position was supposed to be, and ultimately, what we needed them to do as an organization.
So if I were to kind of recap it, you're looking to scale and continue to grow the business at a very, I would say, pretty fast pace. Yep. And to do that, you're promoting leaders from within. For obvious reasons, there's lots of benefit for doing that. And when you did that, you created some new executive positions. You put these high potential people in there. And then we had to figure out, how do you get them to succeed? Right. Once they're in that position, they got the job title, but now what do we do? And so then that's when we started working together with that. Had you tried anything in the past as far as like professional development with the team?
No, I mean, we'd done some internal stuff. We had brought a third party in, not specifically directed or targeted towards the project executive position, but we really didn't have, part of growing is that our internal training and the resources that we have internally are also kind of growing at the same time. So all of it was new to us. I think that, creating these positions, we had people within the organization, within the company, that knew what a project executive should do and how they should operate and what they function as, and what we'd seen in a past life. But at Thompson Turner, we'd never had those positions before. One of the two individuals that we selected to participate in this had no idea what a project executive was. He'd never seen one. He hadn't heard of one. And so trying to figure out, what he didn't know what he didn't know. So he didn't really understand what he was supposed to be doing, what the project executive functions like, how they're seen within the organization and outside the company. And so, I think you kind of helped us tie all that together. I think internally we had expectations set of what those people were supposed to do, but we're not completely confident that internally we could, get the same result we could by, allowing you to come in and help us try to figure that out.
Thank you. Tell me, did you have any particular, I guess, surprises kind of at the end of this? Were you kind of surprised by something that happened or any of the results?
I was surprised. I'm surprised by the results. I thought I was confident that we were going to ultimately land where we wanted to go, but I think we saw, those two individuals turn almost 180 degrees from where they were. And I think the outcome and the results exceeded most of our expectations.
Perfect. Thank you. They worked hard and
yeah, they did. they took it seriously, which is, I think, in order to make, and that was part of why we picked them. We didn't pick people that weren't going to take it seriously. But if we'd have tapped an individual that may not have taken it quite as seriously as those two guys did, then I don't know that we'd have gotten the same result.
Yeah, no, I think you primed them up well. You explained what the expectations were, and we identified there was an opportunity for growth, and they leaned into it, and they had the courage to be able to really to go after it. All right. So if there was anybody kind of on the fence that is thinking about executive coaching, what would you say? And they're kind of like, I don't even know who Katie is. I don't even know if this would work. What would you say to them?
I would say absolutely, go for it. I knew what I wanted the result to be, but I was really unclear on how we were going to get there. And so I think that's where you helped us bridge the gap, and that your experience and knowledge helped us get there. I could see, the vision and knew what I wanted the result to be, but wasn't sure of the steps, in between where those folks currently were versus where we wanted them to be. And I think you helped us navigate that, help put together a plan that was, easily implemented, but it also let those two individuals, they bought into the plan. And I think, you helping us with that, without your input, I don't know that would have been very successful. We would have just changed their title, and I don't know that we would have gotten a different result.
Thank you. I know when we had first met, you had defined success as if we could get these folks better in 24 months, that would be great. Can you talk about that, and then the time frame that we were able to deliver this in?
Yeah, I always try to set, realistic expectations, particularly in a role like that. And I think we were going to be satisfied with anything that could happen within 2 years, understanding that we, might not get immediate results. And I think we wrapped our process up in 6 to 7 months. So we got it wrapped up and finalized by the end of last year, which allowed us to really use the employees' progress through the, leadership coaching and development and training to evaluate them when we did their annual evaluations at the end of last year. And while I think they both still have some things to certainly work on, and we all do, but they absolutely jumped right into it. So we saw, results in a fraction of the time that, we'd set our expectations up for.
Fantastic. So we've also, I'm going to shift a little bit from the executive coaching over to the workshop. So we've done some workshop series. We did a series of them. We kind of knew what the first topic was going to be. This is for a larger group that you bring in, and more just, young talent that's in the room, and just beginning to expose them to certain leadership topics. And a lot of folks, they may come to me and they're like, I don't even know where to start with this. And so do you mind talking about kind of what we did with your team, and kind of what you were doing before? And
yeah, so within the organization, we have a leadership development program, which I think works pretty well in tandem with what we've done with you. To me, they're two different things with two different outcomes. We'd also tried again some of the third, we utilized another individual. It was more focused on presentation skills and things more oriented around that. And I think what we were trying to accomplish with you was, more to try to come up with some skill development that was more applicable to what the project managers and assistant project managers within the company are trying to accomplish on a day-to-day basis with, whether it's time management or communication, or, how do you deal with an employee that may not be performing at the level that you expect. And, it's easy to throw your hands up and just give up on them, but maybe you've got to change your mindset on, how you're interacting with that person to get, to bring their strengths to the surface. And so I think that's really, what we were trying to accomplish with you. And when you came in, initially, I think I think we had good results initially, but I think as you continued to come in, the results got better and better. The folks in the room got much more comfortable being around you. And then I also think they got much more open about some of the feedback they were giving, both of us, and some of the things they wanted us to continue to, implement and see you present on at some of those meetings. And I think by the time we got to that project, that offsite meeting that we had, I think that's when it kind of, at least for last year, peaked, and we got, the best input during the session. We got the best output, on the responses on what they'd like to see next. And then I think we took all that stuff and developed a plan for us to continue that this year.
Yeah. So that topic that you're referencing that really opened up the floodgates, it was, how do we turn failures into success?
Yeah, that's right.
Right. It really did. It opened up the floodgates for discussion and conversations, and people realizing that they can take chances and they're not going to get fired. And it's going to allow you to have more time in your day, Will, because now they're like finally doing things that you need them to do. Yeah. They're not living in the fear factor just because of the stories they've told themselves over the years of why they don't need to take a chance. So, but it's beginning to infuse some of these discussions and topics into the team as a whole, kind of a much bigger impact versus a one-on-one coaching. So, if you have anybody, I guess, on the fence that's like, I don't know if I need a couple workshop series, what would you say to them if they're new to me and they're like, I don't know if I want to give it a shot?
Yeah, I would say, I think just from an employee morale standpoint, one of the things that it was important to us is that, if you're not one of these project executives that we, enrolled into, the 6-month leadership training, I think, for us, a lot of our staff is younger. A lot of our staff is under the age of 40. A lot of them are under the age of 30 or 35. And so it's important for that age group to feel like the company that they work for is invested in them. And so a lot of why we did what we did was, to not only show them that we invested in our, top performers, but we invested in, everybody within the organization. And I think, once we did that, we got two things. One, I think they became better at their jobs, but then two, I also think from a morale standpoint, they were like, hey, you know what, our organization is interested in our growth, even if I might not quite be at the, at the top of my career, even mid-career. But the organization, will invest in anybody within the company and not just, these high-level performers.
I think that's a great point. I think a lot of people are looking for finding ways to build that culture, maintain the culture, and keep the morale going. And these are small ways to infuse some of that culture and power and consistency that folks are wanting to do. So I know we did like 3 months back to back, once a month for 3 months to create some momentum. And now it's kind of in a maintenance where it's like once a quarter, let's come in and just kind of infuse it and feel, what's the energy like, what's the feedback like. And then we go back to them just like you do with customers, hey, what do you want to learn about next? And usually during that session, they give us an idea of what kind of topic they want to talk about next. So that's kind of how it's leading us down that path. We don't have to have the answers at the front end. We can go and learn a little bit, hear what they have to say, and then tailor it to fit their needs, because their needs may be different down the road than where they are right now.
Yep, that's right.
Perfect. Any other thoughts?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. This is fantastic. Thank you, Will.
You're welcome.